Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Can I get everyone to mute their microphones, please?
This is Bastrop County Court of Law, April 6, 2021. Court calls cause number 2120596 in the interest of white children. Ms. Cochran Green, would you like to make your announcement on the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Jennifer Cochran Green, attorney for the department.
Mr. Wilson?
Philip Wilson, attorney ad litem for the children.
Mr. Eckel?
Hodson Eckel, attorney for respondent mother, Crystal Schiller.
Mr. DeClue?
Philip DeClue, attorney for Father Darius White.
Are the parties ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Cochran Green, would you like to make an opening statement at this time?
Your Honor, today we're asking that you appoint the department as temporary managing conservator and that you approve the current placement. The children are placed in 2 placements. There's 4 children total. The girls are in one foster home. The boys are in another. We're asking that you order the parents to submit to a hair follicle test by the end of the day or today or tomorrow. We're also asking that you approve the temporary visitation plan, which would be supervised visits at the department's office twice a month for 1 hour.
Mr. Wilson, would you like to make an opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. I support the department's position. Children are doing well in their placement. Would like them to stay where they're at.
Mr. Eckel?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd ask that the court not remove the children and rather than do that, do a court-ordered services case.
Mr. DeClue, would you like to make an opening statement?
No opening statement, Your Honor. We're not going to oppose this temporary managing conservatorship. My client and I have had some very good conversations. He understands he has some things to do currently.
Ms. Cochran Green, would you like to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Deputy Newsom.
Okay, would all the potential witnesses, including parties, raise your right hands, please? Do you swear the testimony given this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you may.
Deputy Newsom, could you please state your name?
Deputy William Newsom.
And where do you work?
I work for the Aransas County Sheriff's Office. Before I got seagulls in my window. The Aransas County Sheriff's Office in Rockport, Texas.
And what is your position there?
I'm a patrol deputy.
And how are you familiar with Crystal Schiller and Darius White?
I met Mrs. Schiller and Mr. White at the scene of a crash that occurred in Aransas County.
And do you recall the date of that accident?
I have to refer to my report. February 8th of 2021.
And did you and other officers respond to the scene?
Yes, we did.
Did you interview both Mr. White and also Ms. Schiller?
Yes, I spoke with both parties.
And what were your observations of Ms. Schiller?
Ms. Schiller was highly intoxicated.
Were there children present in the vehicle or at the scene?
Yes. Yes, there were.
And what was Ms. Schiller's explanation for what happened at the scene?
Basically, there was a disturbance and they were going down the road and Mr. White said something to the effects of, "If I can't have you, no one can," and jerked the wheel, causing the vehicle to leave the roadway.
Okay, and that was Ms. Schiller's account of what happened?
Yeah, basically.
Did she advise you at any point in time that there was an active protective order between her and Mr. White?
I do not believe she did, but we did find that out once I ran the names through our communications.
And once you were able to confirm that, was Mr. White arrested on the scene?
He was.
Did you interview Mr. White as to what his explanation for what happened was?
Yeah, I did briefly speak to him about what happened, and basically it was the same. Only, I believe he said she had jerked the wheel.
Was Mr. White intoxicated?
I didn't detect any signs of intoxication on him. I didn't smell any alcohol.
Okay.
So
But he wasn't arrested for intoxication or,
no, he was not.
okay. Was Ms. Schiller arrested?
Yes, she was later arrested at the hospital for public intoxication.
And do you believe that, in your professional opinion, was Ms. Schiller able to take care of her children in her current state?
No.
I pass the witness.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Good morning, Deputy. I just want to make sure neither parent gave you a reason other than the other one grabbing the wheel for the collision.
That's correct. It was the collision itself was investigated by the Highway Patrol. So,
But both parents said the other parent grabbed the wheel, and they didn't give you any other reason why there might have been a collision other than the other partner grabbing the wheel.
let's see. I'm sorry, I'm going over my report. I hadn't had.
I understand.
No. At one point, Mrs. Schiller advised that she had been kidnapped.
Okay, nothing further. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Reichl, do you have any questions?
Mr. White was driving, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Mr. Leclerc?
Yes, sir. Quickly, Officer Newsom, since Mr. White was driving, you would have checked fairly carefully, would you not, for any signs of intoxication or inability to drive on his part?
No, sir. The crash was being investigated by the Texas Highway Patrol. At that point, that would be their job.
So you didn't make any real investigation into whether or not he was intoxicated, apart from him, you're not noticing any signs of intoxication?
Correct. And I'm not sure if the Highway Patrol performed a field sobriety.
Well, do you know whether charges for DWI were ever filed, or
I do not believe so.
you believe
He
they
would
were
have been,
not?
he would have been taken into custody if they were. So I would say no.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Cochran Green, do you have any further questions?
Yes, just a couple more, Your Honor. Deputy Newsom, you made mention that there was some allegation that she was kidnapped. Do you recall if she made an allegation, if it was by force, by gunpoint?
Yeah, she made a mention that it was by gunpoint. There was no firearms located in the vehicle.
I pass the witness.
You have another witness to call?
Your Honor, I would call the department.
Okay. Who's next?
Roxana Garcia.
You may proceed.
Do we need to excuse the officer? Do we?
Is there any objection to excusing the officer?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Newsom, you're free to go or to stay. It is up to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Ms. Garcia, could you please state your name?
Roxana Watts Garcia.
And what is your current role with the department?
I'm an investigation supervisor out of Aransas County.
And were you supervising the investigators who were assigned to this case?
Yes.
And what were the allegations that prompted a referral in this case?
The allegations were for neglectful supervision due to the mom being intoxicated and the accident that had occurred while the children were in the vehicle.
Okay. And did your, one of your team members, Investigator Marino, did she respond to this call?
Yes.
And did she take the children into CPS custody?
Yes. Since there was no caregiver at the time, both parents were being arrested. The department picked up the children and brought them here to the office.
Okay. And did the department meet with mom and interview mom at a later date?
Yes.
And do you recall what date that was?
She was interviewed on February 10th.
And were you present at the office when that interview took place?
Yes.
And at that point in time, did the department try to enter into a safety plan with mom?
Yes, we did.
And what were the terms of that safety plan?
The safety plan was to be, it was completed with her sister. Her sister drove down here, her sister Sherry Kemp, and the conditions of the safety plan were to be 24-hour supervision by the aunt with all children with mom. And that there was some concerns of one of the child probably having some ADHD that was not being attended to. So we did also put on the safety plan that mom was going to follow up with all mental health checkups and medical concerns for the children.
And did
And
mom,
for there to be no contact with dad.
okay. And did mom sign off on that safety plan?
Yes, she did.
And why did that safety plan fail?
I do not have knowledge of why it failed.
Okay. Did something occur at the office that gave the department concerns about Ms. Schiller?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Did the judge say overruled? I didn't hear.
Yes, yes, you may answer the question.
So mom arrived at the office and I was wearing my mask. Mom did not have a mask on. And as she was talking to me, I could smell alcohol on her breath. I could smell it through my mask. So I asked mom if she had been drinking. She informed us that she had had 2 shots of vodka, I believe, vodka or tequila. She had 2 shots of alcohol prior to coming to the office. So I did have a discussion with her that it was not appropriate for her to be drinking right before I was about to allow these children to go on a safety plan with the aunt. So mom said she understood. I stepped out of the office. We have a small office here, so I left her with caseworker Jeanette Marino. I stepped out to call my supervisor to inform her, of mom, how she had arrived to the office. When I came back into the office after my phone call, I found mom thrown on the floor, like throwing a tantrum on the floor. So as I approached mom, I told mom, we're not doing this, mom. The children are here. They do not need to be observing you in this manner. They haven't seen you in almost 2 days. They don't need to see you, acting like this. So she said she understood. And I told her, get up from the floor. And I had to be talking to mom like a child. I was like, mom, get up. So she got up. We walked her back into the office. We attempted to drug screen her at that time. But she was, not acting appropriate. She asked me if she could go to the bathroom. I told her, I was like, yes, I escorted her to the bathroom, but she was stumbling on the way to the bathroom. She had to hold on to the wall. I told her, I was like, are you going to fall? I don't want to, end up having to go into the bathroom with you, if you fall. So I kind of just stood at the door to see if I would hear her fall or something. She went to the bathroom. She stumbled back to the office. We explained the whole entire safety plan to her. We also completed what we call non-parent authorization agreement with her. She signed, the aunt signed, the aunt and the children left. We continued talking to her as time passed by because she was here for about 2 hours. As time passed by, she just continued crying really loud, acting inappropriate. And so I had no other choice but to call law enforcement. Law enforcement arrived. They attempted to calm her down. They explained to her that she was going to be detained. And so as she was walking out of the office, she, 3 officers arrived. They noticed, mom was, like I said, mom was a little bit calm, but she was still crying when the other 2 officers left. But when they finally detained mom was leaving down the hallway, and she just basically just said, fuck this. And she just hit the ground and just laid on the ground under arrest. And so the officer had to call for backup. It took 2 officers and another one observing to tell mom that she needed to get up or they were going to charge her with resisting arrest. They forced her up. They almost practically dragged her out of the building and threw her into the vehicle and took her.
During any of that, did she ever ask for CPS's help?
She did. She
Our
cried. Like I
services.
said, she was here for 2 hours. You know, I was talking to her and I kept telling her, Mom, don't give us a reason to remove these children. You need to change your behavior. And she cried. She said she understood. She said that she's got alcoholism in her family. She recognized that she has an alcohol problem, that she needed to change. She did explain to us that she had been sober for a long time. She did tell us that Mr. White is the one who makes her drink, that he forces her to drink, and she drinks because of him, and that she had basically relapsed. But, she did ask us for help lots of times. And I kept telling her, Mom, well, now's your chance. We're going to help you. We're here for you. Yeah, she did ask for help.
Okay. And did you have any interactions with Mr. White?
None.
And where was he during this time?
He was incarcerated.
And did you have any interactions with mom after she was arrested that evening?
Yeah, so the following day, about 9:15 or so, Mom started calling my cell phone again, that she couldn't find her wallet. I explained to her that she had her wallet with her, or that law enforcement had asked her for ID, but she didn't have her ID, if I remember correctly. But there was a suitcase that was left behind. So I told Mom, I said, well, there's a suitcase here. Maybe it's in the suitcase. Are you okay if I go through the suitcase? And she said that was fine, because one of the children had left a toy here that we had given him. So we were going to mail the toy to the aunt's house. So we looked through the suitcase. Well, in opening the suitcase, we found a little pink, like, marijuana bong in the suitcase. And so when I asked Mom, I was like, Mom was with me while I was looking through the suitcase, because she was asking me for like a dress and some shorts and some clothing from the suitcase. And, I kept telling her, well, there's this in here. She's like, yes, that's mine. And so I told her, I was like, there's something pink in here. We weren't sure what it was. And so then we kind of flipped it over. I got, I think, like a tissue, and I picked it up and I flipped it over. It had, some drug residue in there. And so I told Mom, I said, there's something pink in here. What is it? And she did explain to me that it was her marijuana bong. She's like, but I'm not going to go pick it up because I'm not about to get arrested again. And I did advise her I was going to be throwing it away in the trash.
Okay. And did you take photos? Did you take photos of it?
I did.
Your Honor, with respect to exhibits, would you allow me to share the screen?
May.
I'm actually going to object.
I can't do it.
I apologize. I'm going to object on the grounds of surprise. This was none of this information. This is all new information that wasn't disclosed in the affidavit.
Your Honor, in response to this has been an investigation that's gone on between 2 counties. So information is becoming available. I myself just found out about this yesterday. And so, I don't know what to say to Mr. Eckel if his client didn't disclose that to him.
The nature of an adversary hearing. So I will overrule the objection.
Okay, and Your Honor, I am unable to share the screen. It says the host disabled. Oh, here we go. Looks like it's back on. Ms. Garcia, are you familiar with the scene that's depicted in this photo?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with it?
It's a picture that I took. It's Mom's suitcase and the object that we found in her suitcase.
Okay, and is this a fair and accurate depiction of what you took a photo of?
Yes.
Same thing with this photograph. Are you familiar with this scene?
Yes, it's another picture I took.
And it's a fair and accurate depiction?
Yes.
Same with this photo?
Yes.
And it's a fair and accurate depiction.
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Your Honor, I'd like to offer what I'll mark as petitioner's exhibit number 1.
You offering that into evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to offer it into evidence.
Any objection?
Could I object as to the truth of the matter asserted as to what it is, also surprise.
Is admitted.
Now, Ms. Garcia, you did ask Ms. Schiller what that object was, correct?
Correct.
You described it to her?
Correct.
And did she tell you what she used it for?
Yes.
Did you have any further discussions about her marijuana use?
I do not recall.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Eckel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Garcia, good morning. You asked Ms. Schiller for a drug test on February 11th, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and what were the results of that drug test?
They were negative.
Okay, and I'd like to, if I can, I was going to try to share. I'm trying to share that with everybody. Can you see that, Ms. Garcia?
No.
In the chat space, I've shared a document.
Yes.
Okay, is that the drug test? Is that?
Yes.
Have you? Okay, that's an accurate reflection of the results of the drug test, as you understand it.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to offer what has been marked as respondent mother exhibit 1 into evidence.
No objection.
Okay, thank you. And as you can see on that drug test, all 5 components are negative, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is a clean drug test.
Correct.
And that was February 11th after you found the pipe or whatever you want to call it, that pink thing that we just saw.
Correct.
Okay. Now going back to, I guess it was February 10th when she was in your office. You just testified that she had, I'll describe it as she kind of threw a fit, was down on the ground and whatnot. Is that fair way to describe it?
Yes.
I mean, but prior to that, she had signed the safety plan.
Yes.
Okay. And what I didn't hear you testify, there was an instance where the aunt showed up, Sherry Kemp showed up and took the kids and somebody went out to the car. Was that you or was that somebody else?
That was another caseworker. We went out to the vehicle to ensure that they were going to have enough space in the vehicle and that every child was going to have their own space with the seatbelt.
Okay. And in your estimation, there wasn't enough for Sherry, the kids, and mom?
Correct.
Okay. And so the obvious person to leave out would be mom? Correct. Okay. And was it after she was informed of that she had a fit?
No.
The flopping, I mean, just she was flopping around on the ground before you took her out to the car to see if she could go home with the kids?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember our conversation earlier this week?
Yes.
Okay. I respectfully, I don't think that's what you told me earlier this week.
Well, you asked if it would be logical for her to be upset because she was not able to go back with the children, and that's when I told you yes. But
Okay.
the first instance happened before finding out that she would not be able to go with the kids. The second incident was after.
Okay, so she had first incident. You to your credit, professionally, you talked her off the ledge, so as it were. You got her calm. You calmed her down. You talked to her. She signed the safety plan,
Yes.
and then there was another fit after this incident where you go out in the car or where your office goes out of the car, and it's explained to her that there's not room for her to go back to Bastrop with
Correct.
the kids. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. Okay, but the sum of all this is that your office's estimation was a FBSS, the safety plan was the way to go for all this. This was your solution to the problem.
Not necessarily. So the department, we did try to file for removal in this county. However, we were informed that we didn't have legal jurisdiction in this county to file for removal. So at that time, since we didn't have legal jurisdiction, we opted to do the non-parent authorization agreement and the safety plan, because at that point we had family that was willing to come down and get the children.
I'm going to object. It's non-responsive. Yes or no question. The sum of all this, your solution, the result was a safety plan.
Our plan B was a safety plan.
Okay, thank you. Pass the witness.
Mr. Decloux, do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Ms. Garcia, good morning. My name is Philip Decloux. I'm the attorney for Darius White, the father, and you've already said you really haven't had any communications with him. Is that correct?
I did not in this county, no, sir.
Okay. You personally haven't had any communication, is that correct? Or you're saying even your office?
No, neither
Okay.
one of us, no.
Did y'all investigate with the children about what happened in that car accident that resulted in that and your having them? Did you talk to them about that?
I did not, Ms. Moreno did.
And is Miss Moreno, is she in your office?
Yes, she's the caseworker right next to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know whether she's another witness. I just want to ask if anybody's investigated, Your Honor, with the children, what happened in this accident, so we can have a better understanding of what's being lied about here, if it's not already obvious. But if she can report as to what another caseworker says because she's right there, then I'll ask her the question. If anybody objects to the hearsay of it, I can understand that, but I would at some point like to get the department to tell me what investigation they made with the children about this accident. So if Ms. Moreno can tell me, that's my, if Ms. Garcia can tell me, that's my question to her. If the court doesn't mind my asking Ms. Moreno, then my question is for her.
Well, I guess it's really not up to the court and if somebody makes an objection or not.
All right. Well, then, Ms. Moreno, can you tell me what if you investigated with the children the car accident?
Yes, sir.
And what was
So
what?
I did,
And did they tell you what happened?
I did not ask them specifically what happened. In the investigation, we don't like to lead the children. So I asked them, the question I asked was, why were they here? And they told me they were going to the beach with their mom and dad, and that mom and dad were arguing, and that they didn't see what happened because the oldest daughter had a blanket over her head and the younger children weren't paying attention. And then there was a crash. And then daddy was arrested. And then mommy and the children were taken to a local hospital. So they did not, none of the children articulated what they observed or didn't observe. They indicated they didn't observe anything. They just knew
Okay.
they crashed.
Okay. So you're saying you didn't ask any direct questions about what happened in that car accident?
No, sir, we don't do that with children. We want them to have free speech. And then if they say, they'll say, would you remember anything else? And they'll answer yes or no. And in this case, each of the children could not elaborate further. Then there was an accident, and they did tell me Dad was driving.
Right. Okay, all right. Pass the witness.
Okay, so now we have a little bifurcated thing going on.
Ask the witnesses.
Okay, Ms. Cochran Green, do you have any further questions for Ms. Garcia?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Ms. Cochran Green, do you have any questions for Ms. Moran?
I do not.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, do you?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Eckel, do you?
I have a quick follow-up with Ms. Moreno. The kids went to the hospital, but were checked out and released, correct?
This is according to the deputy that I spoke with. I was not present. I was the investigator on call. When I received the call to respond, I called the deputy, and the deputy informed me that she was at a local hospital with the children, that they were being checked out. She would be returning to the sheriff's department and asked me to come pick up the children.
Okay, thank you.
Cochran Green, do you have any further testimony?
Your Honor, I would like to call our Bastrop investigators so that we kind of have some synergy between the two investigation units to explain why the department filed for removal. So I call Ashley Moreland.
You may proceed.
Could you please state your name?
Ashley Moreland.
And are you an investigator in Bastrop?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you become assigned to this case?
I was originally assigned to the case in January when the initial intake came in.
Okay. And what were the allegations in the referral?
The initial allegations were domestic violence between Miss Schiller and Mr. White, that there was an incident at their house where Mr. White had physically abused Miss Schiller in the presence of the children. There was a protective order in place, and Mr. White was arrested and taken to Bastrop County Jail.
Okay. And that happened in January?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the outcome of your investigation at that point in time?
The only person I was able to interview at that time was Mr. White because he was in jail. He expressed that he had concerns that Ms. Schiller may possibly be on methamphetamines and that she had been drinking. I attempted to meet with Ms. Schiller and her children. She told me that her children had COVID. I asked her for the COVID test results. She never produced those. And each time I attempted to go to her home, she would not be there. When I would attempt to meet with her, she would tell me that she had a chemo appointment or that she was unable to meet or was out of town.
Okay. And then did you become aware of this incident that happened on February 8th?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, on February the 8th, Ms. Schiller and I had a text message conversation where she asked me for assistance to help her pay a utility bill. I told her there were resources available, but I would need to meet with her. Later that evening is when the incident occurred, and the next morning I found out about the accident.
Okay. And were you able to talk with the department in Aransas Pass?
Yes.
And at that point in time, when did the investigation, I guess, of that incident transfer over to you?
I believe the incident transferred to me on February the 12th.
Okay. And with respect to a safety plan, the children were placed with Ms. Schiller's sister, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Sherry Kemp.
In Bastrop?
Yes, ma'am.
And why is a safety plan not appropriate in this circumstance anymore?
The safety plan was not appropriate in this circumstance because Ms. Schiller was not present during any of this. She was still in Aransas Pass, and Mr. White was currently still incarcerated. So there was no parent with Ms. Kemp with the children.
Okay. And did the placement ever express any concerns to you about whether she would be able to continue to be a placement?
So yes, ma'am, on, I believe it was February 21st, I received a text message from her and letting me know that she could no longer keep the children in her home due to space. Her landlord said that she couldn't keep the children in her home.
Okay. And why did the department decide to file for a removal? Your department, or your unit?
Because of the ongoing domestic violence between Miss Schiller and Mr. White, Miss Schiller being aware of the protective order and both of them violating the protective order and the ongoing domestic violence.
Okay. And in these situations, or this particular situation, you filed for removal in Bastrop because that is where the mother lives and the children live?
Yes.
And do they go to school in Bastrop?
Yes.
Did you request that mom submit to a drug test?
I did.
And what was her response to that?
She told me that she would go while she was in Aransas Pass. She didn't go while she was in Aransas Pass. There was I should preface that with saying that there was a winter storm. So then I asked her to go again after the storm. She said that she would go and that someone from the Aransas Pass office would take her, but she didn't go. We never got those results. And then I asked her to go for a drug test when she got back to Bastrop, and she said she had to work and did not go.
Okay. Is the department asking or requesting that the department be appointed as temporary managing conservator of all children?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe that's in their best interest?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that there is a continuing danger to the children if they were to be returned to mom?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that danger?
That Ms. Schiller will continue to use and abuse alcohol and will continue to be around Mr. White, although she is aware of the ongoing domestic violence between the two of them.
Okay. Has she provided you with any contact information of where she is living?
No, ma'am.
What about Mr. White? Have you had any interactions with him?
While Mr. White was incarcerated, I did mail him a letter to let him know that his children had been removed and that he had, and I mailed him the child caregiver resource guide. Mr. White did write a letter back to me and provided the child care resource guide.
And were you able to perform any checks on those individuals that he presented as potential placements?
I did not know, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know if the department has?
Not to my knowledge, I don't know.
Okay. With respect to where the children are currently placed, how long have they been in that placement, those two placements?
Since February 25th.
Okay. And are they doing well in those placements?
To my knowledge, yes.
And are they potentially long-term placements?
Yes.
Have the parents visited with the children?
Ms. Schiller has.
Okay. And what about Mr. White?
So investigations initially performs the initial visit, Mr. White was incarcerated. But when he was released, he did reach out to me and I provided him with the name and phone number of the conservatorship worker.
Okay. And who is the conservatorship worker?
His name is Joshua Carrier.
Okay. Have you, prior to the incident that happened in Aransas Pass on February 8th, were you able to inspect the home where Ms. Schiller is living?
No, ma'am.
Were you able to ever observe or interview the children?
I saw Anaya once at school.
Okay. And since February 8th, that incident, were you able to talk with the children about what had occurred?
I did not speak with the children about what had occurred, no.
Okay. Have you interviewed them at all?
No.
And what are the services that the department is recommending for the parents to complete?
The psychosocial evaluations, an OSAR assessment, drug testing, parenting classes, co-parenting classes, and domestic violence awareness and batteries intervention.
Okay. And Do either one of these parents have CPS history?
Yes, ma'am, they both do.
And have they ever completed services with the department?
Ms. Schiller has, yes.
And did she complete them successfully, as in all the services?
She has been resistant to some services, but I believe the last family-based safety services case she did have, she completed it.
Okay. And has she started to work other than the drug test, has she begun any services with the department?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I pass the witness.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Eckel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Moreland, just to clarify, you said that Ms. Schiller hadn't tried to reach out to you, but you did just testify that she had done a visit with her children through Josh Carrier, right?
No, I did the initial visit.
Okay, but she has since, but she's visited her children, and you
Yes.
you were there, so. You've left the impression that she has not reached out to you, as if she's ignoring the entire department. I'm trying to establish she has reached out to the department, and she's
Yes,
visited her children, as you
she's
just
visited her
testified to.
children.
Okay, thank you. You were asked to testify about drug tests. You're aware of the drug test that she took on February 11th, yes?
Yes, an oral drug test.
And it was clean, right?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see. The protective order you talked, have you seen the protective order?
Yes.
Okay. Let me try to share that. Okay. Should be showing up in the chat space, Ms. Moreland, the protective order. Can you pull it up or see it?
Okay, I see it.
Okay. And if you look through there, you can see that it's, the children are not subject to the protective order, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and there's a space in there where it says that Ms. Schiller was the one who asked for that protective order, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you just said something that was interesting to me, that she reached out to you on February 8th asking for help with the bill with
Yes.
utilities? Okay. Did you get the impression that the electricity had been turned off at her home?
I cannot remember. I mean, I can go through my cell phone and see if it was the water or the electricity. I don't remember which one it was.
Okay. As for going for the FBSS, or the safety services to a removal, the main reason that happened was that Ms. Kemp couldn't take all 4 kids, correct?
That Ms. Kemp couldn't take all 4 children?
That she couldn't keep the children. She couldn't. You mentioned something about her landlord, or?
Yes.
Okay,
And we had no other placement for the children.
right. Okay, it wasn't because of something that Ms. Schiller had done. It was an unfortunate circumstance that Ms. Kemp could no longer keep the kids.
I believe it was a totality of the circumstances.
In your affidavit, you mentioned that the conversation Ms. Kemp had with her landlord and the conversation she had with you, but you don't mention any reasoning given as to any action on behalf of Ms. Schiller. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Mr. Duclair?
Ms. Moreland, is the department interested in finding out what happened in that car wreck?
Yes.
Have you investigated what happened in that car wreck?
I received a letter from your client explaining his version of what happened.
But you've made no individual investigation into what happened. There's been no attempt to talk to the kids about it. And I understand there may be some methodology involved in doing that, but do you think it's important what happened in that car wreck?
I do think it's important what happened in the car wreck. However, the children were already interviewed in Aransas Pass.
And you feel like that's all that's probably going to happen in that regard?
As far as the
The
children being
department
interviewed,
investigating the circumstances of that car wreck.
yes.
All right. Pass the witness.
Ms. Cochran, do you have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have any further testimony?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any testimony to present?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Eckel,
I do. My client.
you may proceed.
Okay. Morning, Ms. Schiller. The protective order is something that you sought, correct?
Yes,
Okay. How is it that you went down there that weekend with Mr. White?
we decided to go together just because so we can get out and have family time.
Okay. And the protective order states that he can contact you, but he can't contact you in a harassing way. Had he been harassing you up until February 8th?
Yes,
How so?
threatening text messages. He is a great manipulator. He knows how to say the things to make me do whatever he wants me to do at the time. It always starts off good and smooth, and then it ends up horrible.
Okay. But
I
What-
decided to give him another chance. Yeah.
okay, so and that was the decision on February 8th.
Yes.
Looking back, was that a good decision?
Absolutely not.
Okay. In terms of the protective order, what have you? It's expired, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Have you done anything to further pursue another order?
Yes.
What have you done?
I've contacted the district attorney's office and for an extension on the protective order.
Okay. And what's your understanding of what you need to do next?
Go through with it,
Okay.
stay away from him and proceed with the department.
You're here, you're under oath to this judge in this court. Are you going to follow through with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
You were not driving on February 8th, correct?
No.
Okay.
Correct.
And you heard the testimony as to the scene there at the office in Aransas where you were told you cannot go back with the kids and your sister, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did you eventually make it back to Bastrop?
The next day.
Okay. Had you been in contact with your sister?
Yes.
Okay. So you knew where the kids were and you were talking to your sister?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. What is your housing situation right now?
I still have the house on Big Sandy. Currently, I'm not living there. I'm living at the job that I work at. But I do have that house and I'm getting a better house.
Okay. How are you going about that?
I have filled out several applications to get housing, as well as seeking with the other department, the other caseworker. He's been assisting me. I've just been trying to look myself because I have steady income, to make sure that my kids' future is better.
Okay. And is the plan for Mr. White to live with you in this house?
Absolutely not.
Okay. You've heard talk about drinking. Are you willing to do services that address drinking?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about you you had a visit with your children 2 Fridays ago, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, how did that go?
It went well, except for my children were stating that they didn't want to be where they were currently.
Okay,
They wanted to.
you got 4 kids, who was saying what?
My oldest daughter was saying that she didn't like where she was and she wanted to come back. My son was also kind of whining that he wanted to be back with his mother.
Okay. If I remember right, I think I heard one of them say, I don't want to go back there.
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Which one said that?
Elijah.
Okay, thank you. What assurances can you give this court that, I mean, we've got 2 instances of conflict between you and Mr. White. The first one in January, the second one in February. What assurances can you give the court that you're going to address this?
Follow through with the protective order, do the classes, the services I need to do, random drug tests. I mean, I'll do whatever I have to make sure that my kids can come back to me.
Okay, and are you willing to submit to a drug test again?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, and where you were living back in January 8th or 9th, what have you, Mr. White was not living with you, correct?
No, he was not.
Okay, how did it happen that he showed up there?
He just showed up at my house, let himself in.
Okay, he had a key?
No.
Okay. Did you know he was coming, or were you surprised?
He had been texting me, sending me harassing messages, and I just told him to leave me alone. And when my sister dropped me off at the house, he was already there.
Okay. Going back from January around the time, how long had you been living in that house?
I've lived in that house for almost a year and a half.
Okay, and in that year and a half, did Mr. White ever live there?
No.
Okay, where had he been?
With his father.
Okay. Did he express an interest to live there with you?
He did.
And you
but
said,
I didn't know.
Okay. And everybody here kind of wants to know just how did February 8th happen? If he'd not been living with you, you have this attack on January 8th or 9th, what have you. You know, what happened February 8th?
He had been texting me really sweet things. Like we weren't going to argue. We weren't going to get along. Everything was going to be great. We could have family time. We wanted to spend time with the kids. After like a long persuasion, I agreed.
Okay. You heard testimony that you had reached out to CPS to help with bills around that time. What was the problem? What was going on?
My electricity had got cut off.
Okay. This is before the winter storm.
Yes, right before.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Cochran-Green, do you have any questions for this witness?
Just briefly, Your Honor, just to make some clarifications on the protective order. Your attorney asked you a question about contact, that Mr. White was not allowed to make any contact with you in a threatening or harassing manner. Do you recall that?
Yes, ma'am.
Part of that protective order is he wasn't supposed to come within 200 yards of you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also told the officer that he kidnapped you. He had a gun.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
And as far as February 10th, when you went to the CPS office, Mr. White wasn't with you at that point in time, was he?
No.
Do you recall telling the department that you had a problem?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you have a problem with?
Alcohol.
And you saw the photos of the marijuana pipe, right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
You told the department that was yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And when was the last time you used marijuana?
It's been over 6 months. I had that in my suitcase because I haven't used that suitcase in over a year. It had just been in there.
Okay, what about meth? Have you used
I
any?
don't,
meth?
no, ma'am.
When was the last time you used meth?
You
It's
object,
been
it
over.
seems facts and evidence that aren't there.
Sustain.
I've only used that one
Crystal,
time.
no,
It's been
Crystal,
over-
you don't have to answer. You don't have to answer.
Okay, however, she did answer it, so now the door is opened. So the objection now has been, is now moved.
Could you
Just gonna
please?
answer.
Yeah, could you please tell the court
Okay.
about your methamphetamine use?
It's been over 2 years.
And do you recall who you used with?
No.
Okay. You understand the department's concerns about what could be construed, I guess, as your lack of cooperation with the department.
Yes, ma'am.
In January, when the department was investigating this incident that happened with you and Mr. White, why did you not allow the department access to your home?
My kids were sick with COVID.
Okay, and they were tested for COVID?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about you? You have submitted to an oral test, right? And you also did a UA. Did
I
you
didn't do a
submit to-
UA.
Okay, just an oral test?
Yes, ma'am.
And I apologize for the questions, but I know you've been
That's okay.
working with 2 separate investigation units. And so we just want to be completely transparent with everything that you've done. What is the status of your relationship with Mr. White now?
Non-existent.
Okay, and if he wants to reconcile with you on behalf of the children, what is your response going to be?
No.
And what is your plan? You know, I hear your attorney is asking that you be ordered to do like family-based services.
Right.
You've admitted that you need help with alcohol. What is your plan for that?
Do active AA meetings, the drug assessment, the OSAR, anything that the department is wanting me to do, I will do.
Okay. What have you done since you were released from jail in Aransas Pass to help with treatment? What treatment have you done?
As of right now, the new caseworker has not asked me to do anything. We did have a long conversation. He did go over what I needed to do, and he did want me to start the process. He hasn't sent me the information yet. I just got him as a caseworker 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but weren't you waiting for the outcome of what would happen today?
No.
All right, I pass the witness.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. DeClue?
Well, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
I would like to hear what happened in the car, ma'am. Can you tell us what happened in the car?
Yes. So we were driving. He had been drinking. I did not know he had been drinking until after the accident. I was already been drinking. When we were driving, we were arguing, and I specifically said I wanted to see my father. I missed my father. He said, "You want to see your father? I'll take you to your father." My father passed away 2 years ago. He intentionally wrecked the car on purpose. We spun out, ended up in a ditch.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. DeClue, yes, thank you. Would you like to ask any questions?
So ma'am, your testimony is that, and that was Mr. White's vehicle, correct?
Yes,
That he intentionally wrecked his own vehicle. Is that your testimony?
yes,
And I'd like to clarify that when you told the police officer that he had kidnapped you, that was a lie, correct?
no,
Well, you just told your own attorney twice that you were agreeable, that you agreed to drive to the coast.
right after the manipulation.
But you didn't tell your attorney that you were kidnapped and forced to go on this trip, did you? You just said that you agreed to go on this trip, correct?
Right after the manipulation.
All right, and you also told this police officer that he used a gun, and that was a lie, correct?
I said that I thought he had a gun, but yes,
So it was a lie that you're telling the police officer he had a gun, correct?
thought he had a gun. Yes.
But so now you're saying you had never seen a gun, but you were willing to tell the police officer he had one?
I asked the police officer to check because that's what he was threatening me with.
Pass this witness.
One follow-up question to Mr. DeClue's testimony. Is it fair to say that from the start of the trip to getting to the coast, the mood of the trip and the mood of the relations between you and Mr. White had changed?
Yes.
Okay. So the beginning of the trip, you didn't feel like you were being kidnapped?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Mr. Eckel, do you have any further testimony to present?
I would like to briefly call Mr. Carrier.
You may proceed.
Hi. Good morning, Josh. You conducted the visit 2 Fridays ago. You heard some of the testimony as to how the mood of the kids and how they reacted towards their mother. Is that fair to say, or?
Yes, I've heard that testimony, sir.
Okay. And do you agree, disagree, or qualify that the kids were happy to see their mother and wanted to go home with their mother?
Yeah, the kids are happy to see their mom. They wanted to visit with her, and yeah, they wanted to go home with their mom.
Okay, thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Cochran-Green, do you have any questions for him?
Josh, have you asked Ms. Schiller to submit to any drug tests since you've been assigned to this case?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did she submit?
She did not go on the day that I sent her.
Did she provide any explanation for why she didn't go?
She did say that she was attending a funeral in San Antonio, I believe. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And with respect to temporary managing conservatorship, do you believe it's in the children's best interest for the department to be appointed TMC?
At this time, yes, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. DeClue, do you have any questions? Mr. Eckel, do you have any follow-up questions?
Just do you have any reason to doubt that she was being truthful as to the funeral in San Antonio?
I can't verify that, Mr. Eckel. I really don't. As I'm getting to know Ms. Schiller, I couldn't say that that's what was actually happening or not, but she told me that a few days after I sent her, she texted me back.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Okay. Mr. Eckel, any further testimony?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. DeClue, do you have any testimony to present? Casa?
Your Honor, CASA has learned a lot today and believes right now at this time that temporary managing conservatorship is in the best interest of the children. The children are doing well where they are at. I think every child misses their parent and wants to go home with their parent when they have those visits. So I think those behaviors are actually very normal for them. But the placements that they are in are handling the behaviors and their needs very well. In fact, I have a visit with them later today and then can update everyone after that visit again, and believes that temporary managing conservatorship is in the best interest of these children while mom and dad are able to get the needed services that they can to hopefully co-parent safely together in the future.
Ms. Cochran-Green, do you have any questions for Casa?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Eckel, do you?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. DeClue?
No, sir.
Your Honor, I do have a few medical things that I would like for parents to clarify for me that placements have expressed some concerns with.
Okay.
In regards to Nevaeh and Ananiah, there have been some reports of one of, I believe, Nevaeh having epilepsy or some concerns with epilepsy and not being able to participate in extracurricular activities or PE class at school. And I just would like verification if that is true or untrue, and so we can help assist the placement get the medical attention she needs for that, as well as chronic ear aches. I believe yesterday they were going to the doctor and Nevaeh reported that she had ongoing ear aches that have been a problem for her, and would just like some help navigating that for the placement so we can get her medical attention needed.
Do I need to answer now?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Ms. Cochran Green, would you like to make any closing?
Your Honor, just briefly, you were asking for temporary managing conservatorship. We believe we've met our burden, our evidentiary burden. The protective order was in place to help these parties get some distance. Both parents violated that. We have concerns that Ms. Schiller is using drugs. We have concerns that she is abusing alcohol, and I think that has been made clear in the testimony where she showed up to the office intoxicated to visit with her children, and then possibly to take them home, maybe. And so we would ask that you grant the department temporary managing conservatorship, that you order the parents to comply with the service plan that's going to be developed, and that you approve the current placements.
Mr. Wilson?
Your Honor, the departments met their burden, I believe, and that I agree that the placement should stay as they are.
Mr. Eckel?
Thank you, Your Honor. What frustrates me is this was an FPSS case that fell apart, unfortunately, when the sister could no longer, or it made a leap from a FPSS case to a removal case when the sister no longer could take the children, and there is a less restrictive middle ground that we could pursue. I mean, a lot was laid bare here today. I'm further frustrated that once that decision was made, then the department brought everything to bear and almost criminalized this, my client in these matters. The affidavit omitted a clean drug test, yet you've heard the expressed repeated concerns about drug use. The affidavit further, there's a highlighting of the meltdown in the office, but it was presented out of order where she is told she can't go back with her kids, and then she has the meltdown, but they bury the lead. But more importantly, you have heard her say, and she admits that it was a bad decision in February, but she does not want to maintain the relationship if she stays away and keeps the relationship, keeps them apart and doesn't maintain the relationship and pursues the protective order as she has committed to doing. She can parent, she can maintain a relationship, the question of termination be off the table, and she can pursue the services if we go the court-ordered services route, the least restrictive possibility or least restrictive appropriate measure at the moment.
You stated there's a middle ground. What specifically is that middle ground?
She get housing. She get housing appropriate for the children. And it has been made clear to her that the slightest hiccup, it's going to be a removal. She knows that in the event that she's so fortunate to get a court-ordered services plan as opposed to, while she's done so far as family-based services, within the CPS, their administrative process, you heard Ms. Moreland say that, she had done that and done okay with that. She probably does need some of the services, and I expect the court to be, everybody's going to want to, it's going to be much more comfortable if there's actually a court case and eyes are on her, where if there is the slightest hiccup, it will be a removal. Her housing right now, she is looking for better, more appropriate housing. At the risk of testifying myself, she revealed to me that the winter storm did a number on her housing, and so it either needs to be repaired that you did hear her testify that she is living elsewhere, and that, again, at the risk of testifying myself, that is the reason why. But we are actively trying to get her appropriate housing for her and her children without Mr. White being present. So again, we are asking for court order services if the court deems that appropriate. Appreciate everybody's time.
Mr. McClure?
Your Honor, my client does not oppose TMC to the department. He welcomes the assistance and he looks forward to cooperating with them and to having reestablishing a full parent relationship with his children.
All right, the court will grant the request for conservatorship, will name the department as temporary managing conservator, will approve the current placements, will order a drug injunction, and approve the department's request to establish a visitation plan. Is there anything further?
Your Honor, we would like the parents to submit to a hair follicle test so that we can have a baseline.
And you have the right in this order to request any of those, so that would be granted. And Ms. Maston had requested certain information at the end of her report. I would like counsel for parents to assist with getting her that information.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. This concludes the hearing.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.